All right. I'll tell you what I'd like to do right now is give you a demonstration of what I do when I'm doing the assessment of somebody that has trouble controlling the picture. So is there anybody in here that has trouble controlling, like when you're doing a word and you're spelling it backwards, that has trouble doing that? Okay. Go on this side if you want. Is this side okay with you?
Okay, we'll trust you. Okay.
So Julie, tell me your history of being able to visualize or not.
Well, I didn't even know there was such a thing until my NLP training. And I can remember the first exercise, I think it was the spelling strategy we were looking at then on the training, and we went off to practice. And I just froze. I thought, I can't see a picture. Everyone else can, but I can't. You know, and that was exactly I believed everybody else could see one, and I couldn't. And I really got into a very anxious state. Yeah.
So can you visualize now?
Well, you know, sometimes I think I can.
Think you can.
I can't see it too clearly.
Really?
No, yeah, I don't actually see it too clearly. And when people said to put a frame around it, I thought, what the hell are they talking about, you know? I really still have a bit of trouble.
So,
yeah, put a frame around it. And I had the same problem with modalities when people started to say, well, you know, where do you see it? I thought, I don't know, you know, I still think, well, I don't know. And we did timeline therapy, and everyone had a timeline. Well, what on earth are you talking about, a timeline? I haven't got a timeline. Then all of a sudden one day I saw it, you know, boing, straight out there in front, you know, and I thought, oh.
So that's what one of those things are, huh?
Yeah.
So on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 would be you can't see anything inside, and 10 would be you can visualize very well. Where are you?
Probably about 5,
Okay.
I think. Around 5, because I must be able to do it. And the exciting part is I can do it for other people. You know, I can do the strategy neat, you know, and I mean, watch other people react to it and think, wow, how did they do that, you know?
Well, I can understand that, because when I first started doing the spelling words backwards, kids could do it better than I could do it.
Yeah,
you know, by
that's
far.
good. Yeah.
So all I did was just develop the ability to do it, and it gets better and better.
I'd like to get it clearer, because I think it's really useful. And you know, sometimes my spelling's very creative, and yeah, a little bit too creative. And being a language teacher, of course, we see lots of wrong spellings. So I think I've got lots of pictures up there of different spelling words. So, and I think in learning a new language it would be useful too. In fact, learning anything.
Probably.
Yeah.
So let's check you out on a word. Well, let's do this word. Now, let's do government. We talked about government before, the word government. Do you know how to spell government?
Yeah, Govern, M-E-N-T.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of that?
No,
So you don't have a picture?
not at the moment. I'm just trying to think if I have. Too much thinking's going on, probably.
Yeah, well, you're standing up there in front of a bunch of people too.
But scary.
So, who's these are nice people. They will. So
They're looking inside my head at the moment.
they're looking inside your head.
Yeah. And I guess
that's scary.
Yeah. Believe me, it is.
So if your best buddy in the world were to walk through that door, without saying a word, would you recognize them?
Of course.
Do you know what they look like?
Yeah.
So how do you describe that? Is that a picture? Is that an image? Is that a memory?
You know, it's a lot to do with a feeling, actually, with me.
You'd have a feeling about the person walking through the door? How would you know which feeling to have?
I don't know, a warmth. Or unless I make a picture and then the warmth comes, I don't know. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So it's possible that you would have a kinesthetic response to the fact that your best friend walked through the door. But how would you know it was them. If they didn't say anything,
I would recognise them, wouldn't I?
yeah, you would recognize
Yeah.
them. So when you think right now, I want you in your mind, I want you to get think of your best friend, or think of somebody that's really close to you.
Okay.
Okay? And if I ask you to draw me a picture of what they look like, do you have a picture in your mind of what they look like?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's what I mean by picture. So what happens to it?
I think the minute somebody asks me about it, I get a bit anxious and think it's not there.
Okay. And where does it go?
I don't know where it goes.
Okay, let's try it again. So this time I want you to do the same thing, except I want you to be very aware of the process, or be very aware of where that image, whatever you want to call it, of your best friend goes. So, remember the last time you saw this person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Remember what they looked like at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. You got an image?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
So do you or do you not have an image?
No, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Okay. Can you stabilize it?
Stabilise it.
Yeah, can you hold that image? Like, for example, I can get an image of my son. Or better yet, I can get an image of Linda. I may start salivating here. Get an image of my wife, Linda. And I can hold that image and do all sorts of things with that image. They're trying to mind read now, aren't they? So can you do that?
Yeah, you see, I still have a problem with it being an image.
So what would you call it?
I don't know.
Then name it. Give it a name. Is it a memory?
Yeah, it's like a memory, really, I think. And I guess it's the fact that I'm expecting to see a picture, you know, a picture that's there. And it's there, but it's not there. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's there.
You mean it's not like they were standing right here in front of you?
No, it's far more obscure than that. Yeah.
And by the way, I talked to you about the language that you use, and that's one of the things that a lot of times students will do. When you say, "Can you get a picture of something?" they'll say, "Well, it's kind of, but it's not real. It's not like they were standing right here in front of me." Well, my pictures don't do that. I mean, I can't close my eyes and hold an image as vivid of you, as vividly as I can by looking at you. Okay. Artists, by the way, artists can do that. That's what we call the artist strategy. That they can get an image of like a mountain scene or something like this, and hold that image in their mind so vivid, so clear, so detailed, that they can go home and they can paint it off of their internal image. That's a very special gift.
Photographic.
And by the way, if I'm working with, or let's say a mother or father calls me and asks me to work with their child, and I say, "Well, tell me a little bit about your child," and they say, "Well, they're real artistic. You know, they sit there and they doodle all the time, or they draw these pictures, piece of cake." Because I know that kid can visualize, well, before I even see them. But they don't know to use it in school. Now, so for example, let's do it like this. If I were to take the word government, and I can see the Government, it's not like I sent it on a piece of paper at all, but it's good enough that I can do the task that I need to do with it. I can spell it frontwards or backwards, and it doesn't run away, and it doesn't disappear on me. So if I have government, I can go, that's a T, an N, an E, an M, an N, an R, an E, a V, O, G. Can you do that?
No, not at the moment. But just give me a minute.
So what I want you to do is to attempt it. So would it help if I wrote out the word?
Yeah, I think so. I think that helps a bit.
Okay. We should have it on some piece of paper up here, shouldn't we? Let's do Albuquerque. You want to do Albuquerque?
Especially with your untidy writing, I do see that.
So it's Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. Yeah.
Albuquerque.
Okay.
So can you stabilize Albuquerque?
I think so. Let's say I have.
Okay. So let's assume Albuquerque. What's the last letter?
E-U-Q. R-E-U-Q. No, I've lost it.
Okay.
Sorry.
So what happened to it?
Anxiety or something.
No, I mean, did
I
it-
went back to listening to it. Did I do it right?
No. Okay.
You know, I heard my voice.
So did the picture explode, fade away, disappear,
Well, what did you see? I didn't.
burn up in smoke?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, let's do it again. And again, this time I want you to be very aware,
Yeah. Okay.
if it goes away, how it goes away.
All right.
Right? So Albuquerque. Last letter is?
E-U-Q. R-E-U-Q. U-B. A-L. L-A.
LA. So did the Al stay there for you? And
Gate, yeah. No, what happened then is that I guessed the last bit.
well, okay, let's do another word.
Okay.
How about Saskatchewan?
Yeah, we've done that, haven't we?
So it's
Sas.
S-A-S,
Yeah.
K-A-T,
K-A-T.
C-H-E-W,
Chew.
A-N.
Okay.
Start over here and go across.
N-A-W-E-H-C. T-A-K-S-A-S.
Very good. Now, in my humble opinion, you can't do it that smoothly unless you're doing it off the picture.
No.
I mean, you didn't stop and verbalize it over and over again like
No,
some
I
people
didn't. No. So that must be
So the
it.
real question is, when you're doing that, what does it take for you to become aware of the image of that word?
Don't know. That's why I'm standing here.
Okay. Well, let's
I'd like
put
to improve.
let's put school stuff out of the way for a bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what an apple looks like?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So if you were to get an image of an apple in your mind's eye, what color would it be?
Red.
Red.
Shiny.
So let's hold that. Can you hold that picture steady?
Steady.
Yeah. I mean, does it fly away or disappear? Or
Well, it's not there, you know. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
it's not there.
No.
It's not real,
No.
but the image is.
Yeah.
So, for example, I can have a picture of an apple, a red apple, just kind of hanging out there in space. Can you do that?
No. And yet I can
And
see,
yet-
but it's not hanging out there in space.
So, how is it in your mind?
Because in front of me are all these people blurred, you know.
Okay. So, can you close your eyes and hold the picture of the apple?
No, I'm in trouble.
So, what happens to it?
I don't know. It's not there.
Okay. So, do you remember what a red apple looks like?
Yeah. So where is it? I don't know.
Do
I
you
mean,
know-
I don't actually see it. I can't see a red apple. I don't know.
How do you know
I'm
what
getting-
one looks like?
I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting to see a red apple, or it's way back, or somewhere.
So let's pretend.
Because this is real. I mean, I've been struggling with this.
Yeah, I hear that. Do you know what a yellow apple looks like?
Yeah, golden delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Can you get an image of that?
kind of. Yeah, and it's got little spots. Huh?
Okay. Here's what.
Garlic bread. Garlic bread, you'll see it.
Now, here's what I want you to do.
Yeah, I can do. Yeah.
And let's pretend that you can do this well.
Yeah, I think it's to do with just
Okay.
believing it.
Okay. I want you to hold and do this with your eyes closed or open, but I want you to hold that picture of the apple in your mind's eye.
Which
And I
one?
want whichever one. Which one you want?
Oh, the red one, I think.
Okay.
White flesh.
Now, let me ask you this. Can you take the red apple and change it to a yellow apple? And then change it to a green apple? You do know what a yellow apple looks like and what a green apple looks like, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I sort of done that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
So
whether
you-
it's the same apple. I just see 3 different apples.
All at the same time?
No.
Okay, so you can do one apple that way. Can you take that apple and can you bring it closer and closer and closer? Till you can almost smell it? I can smell mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually terribly big now, I think.
Terribly big?
Yeah.
I bet you can see it better though, can't you? If it's terribly big.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. So can you take that apple and just kind of move it away? So that it kind of goes out there in the distance?
Maybe, yeah, I think it's there.
Okay. Can you bring it back to the normal distance that you started with? And then what I want you to do is in your mind's eye, I want you to make the apple bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
What, in the distance?
No, right here, wherever it was. Just make your apple as big as a balloon, big as a basketball. You know what a basketball is?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. You can do that?
Mhm.
Okay. Can you squeeze it down to it's about the size of a walnut or a nut?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Can you take that apple and move it up in your without moving your head, move it up in the upper right of your visual field?
I think it's there.
Okay.
Yes, I still don't see it. You see the doubts coming again now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you move it to the upper left? Do you remember what color this apple is?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm moving it at all. I think I'm making a new image up there or...
As long as you have the image, I don't care.
Okay.
Now, I want you to bring it back to front and center, where you can see it most clearly. And again, if you need to close your eyes, feel free to close your eyes.
That doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Really.
And I want you to make the apple nice and big.
Okay.
Now see, what we're doing, Julie, is this is the way people learn to control their mind.
Mm.
They get their mind to do different things, and so they give their mind tasks and say, move this apple around or make it bigger, make it smaller. And it's all about you using your mind to your advantage.
I think it gets very distracted very easily, you know,
Mhm.
and in comes a belief that this is just the feeling I get, that I don't see it,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, then I have to start all over again, believing that I can.
Mm-hmm. So when we get around to doing belief change stuff,
Yeah, it'd be quite handy.
this is going to be one of the places that I think would be useful for you to take advantage of what we're going to do here and change that belief.
Mm.
Okay?
Indeed.
Indeed. So just for the purposes of the exercise, I want this to be a nice big apple.
Okay. Red with a bite out of it.
Right.
White.
And this, by the way, is a government apple.
Oh, which government?
Whichever.
New Zealand? Apple and pear?
But one of the things I know about governments is they stamp everything.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I want you to stamp on there in big
What about a
letters.
little label? Will that do? Sticky label.
Okay, we'll put a sticky label on there. But I want it to be nice bold letters, government.
Crafty.
Mhm. Okay? Now tell me what the last letter is.
T.
Keep going.
N-E-M. N-R.
You're losing the apple or losing the label?
Losing the label.
No.
Or the apple too.
I want you to
Lost
see-
the lot.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to see your hand in your mind's eye, coming up with a red apple in it, putting it right there, smooth the label out on it, and spell it backwards. And I want you to hold that apple in your mind's eye with your hand so that it can't go away.
What was this end?
Yeah.
In my mind's eye or here?
Whichever way works. And spell it. The last letter is? Be sure you're holding it with your hand.
TNEMNREVEVOD.
Okay, very good.
Is that right?
That's right. You did it right.
Okay.
Now what I want you to
See
do
that then.
is forget about the apple. I just want you to look at that label. Just have that label there. Maybe you put the label on your hand. Tell me what the second letter from the left is.
I don't know my left from my right. That's another thing I meant to tell you too.
Oh, put it on my
Not
hand.
automatically. Not automatically.
Okay,
I have to really start to write.
okay. Just see the level. Don't put it on your. Just see the label. Don't put it on your hand.
Okay.
So what's the second letter
Where? Which end?
from that end?
Oh, okay. Oh,
Okay. What's the next to the last letter?
N.
What's the fourth letter?
N.
Fourth. From
E.
this one.
E.
And the last letter?
T.
And the sixth letter?
I'm counting.
Well, yeah, you have to count to go to 6. So how do you know what to count if you don't have that image in there that you're counting off of?
I don't know. I think I was going GOV. I don't know. No, I can see something here. It's M.
Okay. Now, what I do when I get people to do this, once they've taken the apple, and most of them know what an apple looks like, and they can stabilize an apple. It's non-school stuff, so it's non-threatening. I mean, you can do it with anything. It doesn't have to be an apple. You can do it with ice cream cone or anything. Main thing is to get them to have this non-threatening object that they can see. Change what we call the submodalities of it, move it around, change the color, change the size, change the distance in the mind's eye. And you're saying while they're doing this, you're suggesting to them that this is how you learn to control your mind. You're making those statements. This is how the mind works, and as you learn to do this, you're learning to control your mind. So they usually can do it with the apple because they normally can stabilize that apple. Most people don't stabilize that apple.
I think a cloud.
It's like a cloud?
No, I think a cloud would be more suitable for me than an apple.
Really?
Yeah, well, the apple goes sort of round, doesn't it? For a start, it's hard to put a flat label on a round apple.
Well, let's see if you can do it with a cloud. So pull a cloud up in your mind.
I've got one. I've
Okay.
already done it. And government's purple iridescent inside it.
Okay?
Right. It's not, I can't make pictures though.
Yeah, it doesn't make pictures, but, got all these wonderful visual descriptive words.
Interesting that, isn't it?
It is. Now, normally what happens is that when they can do it with the apple again, but just simply because it's non-threatening. And then I take the apple away and let them hold the word government. And usually what I've done is use the word government, and 10 minutes before they couldn't spell government backwards. They would say, it disappears, I can't hold it, whatever it is they say. Now they're doing it. Without the apple, they've got a picture of the word government, and they're spelling it frontwards and backwards, or they're saying this is second letter, fourth letter, eighth letter, whatever. And then I do the following. I say, good. This lets me know that you now are learning to control your mind. Now watch the logical levels as I go through this. It lets me know that you now are learning to control your mind and to use your mind to your advantage. This lets me know that you have the capability to do well in school. As soon as I teach you how to use your mind in school and I teach you the learning strategies that I'm going to teach you. As you start to get more successful in school, you can learn to value school even more. And you can even learn to believe in yourself as a student, believe in yourself that have a mind that can learn anything. As you find those successes building up and building up and building up in your life, you will start to notice that you're becoming the kind of student that you always wanted to be. The kind of student that can make yourself and your parents and your peers proud of you. Because now you can perform to the level that you were meant to perform to. So what you're doing is just linguistically ratcheting her up and down. You can keep this thing going for a long time if you want to. And what that does is take the evidence that they were just able to do something that they weren't able to do before, 10 minutes before, and use it as a counterexample to go after the belief that they can't do it. and then also to, tell them ways to believe about school, to believe about themselves, to believe about their identity, to believe about who they're doing it for, like their parents or the school or whatever. Do you see how that works? What I do then, as soon as I got them where they can change the belief, I got them where they're changing the belief about that they can't do it, and they're starting to visualize, then I start teaching them the learning strategies. If I get them to the point that we can teach them to visualize, just to be aware of their images, then we can have ways to strengthen their images. Then we can start working on the learning strategies, and every time they use a new learning strategy, every time they learn a different way to do something, every time they learn how to spell words differently, every time they learn how to use the math triangle, I go right back in and go up and down those logical levels with it, and says that lets me know that you are really starting to become capable of using your mind for learning things in school. You are really becoming the kind of student that you probably always wanted to be deep down inside. And you use every one of those learning strategies that they learn how to do and they become successful at as the counterexample to continue to demolish the old belief that they can't do anything and to build new beliefs to replace the new beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you have that written someplace? Is it in the manual, what you just told her?
What I just told her?
How you bring the logical levels in language. I mean, it was really beautiful. Is it written somewhere? Do we have that to memorize?
Don't you guys already know how to do that? No, we're going to learn how to do that. I don't think I do, but now what I would do, I mean, for the purpose of the demonstration, I wanted y'all to see, the steps that I would go through with the typical type of student. Just going through the apple and changing the submodalities and stuff like that. If Julie came to see me and this little thing didn't work, I would forget about the learning strategies, and I would say, okay, let's back off. And I would probably go after the belief that she has that she can't visualize. I may do more stuff like, would you have an image of your friend if your friend walked through the door, stuff like that. Whatever it would take before she would do it. In fact, so you want to sit down? Are you okay?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay.
Go ahead and sit down, and let me finish up. One of the first things that I would do, in fact, I'll just do it from here. Have you ever been able to visualize? I mean, when you're a small child, do you ever remember being able to?
Being able to visualize.
Yeah, when did you first notice, well, I guess it's in your NLP training, that you said, I didn't even know there was such a thing as making a picture of stuff, right?
So when did as a small child, I can remember having incredibly strong visual images that I could flip and colours that I could change.
Okay.
And
Come back up here.
and I remember that vividly as a small child.
Okay.
And I used to go to bed and I used to go through a sort of a routine of bringing these colours up from a interesting place and then just flipping them and switching them, and they'd be very vivid.
Mm-hmm.
And I could make them bigger and bigger and sort of like a spatial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
You want to put that on?
do I? Put on my ear.
So when did those pictures go away? I mean, if you go back in your life and you remember as a little girl,
Yeah.
and you almost in your mind's eye, you kind of walk your timeline up, when did you lose the ability to make those kind of images?
Probably around puberty, somewhere around there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Puberty is an amazing time, isn't it? And was there anything that happened? Anything that you didn't want to see?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't remember.
I don't, well, you don't remember right now, but
No.
we're going to explore.
Okay.
One of the things that happens sometimes with young women in particular, around puberty, when their body starts shifting, is that they develop beliefs around visualization.
Something's just twigging.
Sometimes it's around the fact that they may or may not want to see what their body is doing, or that they don't want anybody else to notice that their body is changing. Or it may be around things like maybe even like their dad. They feel strange. They don't sit in their dad's lap anymore. Or maybe the dad, because they're getting into a young woman, the dad stays away from them. And all of a sudden, they think something's wrong with them. I mean, there's all sorts of possible
No, but I began to think there was something wrong with me, yes. And I got a lot bigger. And I wasn't fat, but I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I began to doubt, actually. I guess I began to doubt.
And doubt what?
Doubt myself, doubt my, doubt my esteem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Doubt my confidence and maybe my even acknowledgement.
So you didn't like the way you looked, huh?
I don't remember being aware of it, but probably not, no. And I had a lovely upbringing, and I was the youngest in the family, but often I wasn't listened to. Because the youngest in the family doesn't know anything. You don't need to be told, So I don't know whether that's something to do with it, but it was definitely around about that time that I can remember feeling feelings of inadequacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's just a link. Can't give you one incident or anything.
Okay. So one of the things that happens with us, it can be, there can be incidents that occur that we don't want to see. And so as we process that in our mind, our unconscious mind can say, well, okay, if you don't want to see, we'll shut down your visualization, your ability to visualize. Sometimes we have to start wearing glasses. That's when we put on glasses. A lot of young women start wearing glasses or lose their eyesight, their visual acuity at around puberty, for the same stuff that we're talking about. One real interesting story is when I was first starting to do this, and I teach a class at a local VOTEC called Enhancing Memory. It's a 2-night class, and this woman, she's probably about 70 years old, came to the class, and I was trying to get them to spell words backwards and stuff like this. She said, I don't have any pictures. I can't do that. And she said, and I want to visualize because I'm about to start a new business at age 70, and I want to be able to set my 5-year plan and my 10-year plan, and I can't visualize. Help me. And so I tried various things and couldn't get her to do it. She came to some of my other NLP workshops constantly saying, I can't do it, I can't do it. I did the NLP certification program, and I brought in national trainers that first time I did it, like Tim and Susie and people like that. And she came to that for them to work on her. They couldn't do anything either. Then the next year, I did the NLP certification program myself. And one of the things I do in that program is have what I call Community Therapy Day. That's when we bring people from off the streets that don't know anything about NLP, and I let my students work on them. And they walk in and say, this is what I want, and my students have to figure out what to do. So here she came. And so she sat down in front of this young man and said, I want to be able to visualize, and he went through various things, and then he did a very, very creative thing. He said, have you ever visualized before in your life? And she said, yeah, when I was young, I did. It's almost like your story. There were very vivid images she had. So what he did was build an anchor. He touched her on the shoulder or wherever and said, okay, I want you to take this inability to visualize, and I want you to take it back in time, and I want you to tell me when it shifts, at what point did you were able to visualize and what happened at that point. So she did a TD search, if you will, went all the way back, and what she found was this incident that occurred when she was about 8 years of age. Within the space of a month, three of her favorite women in her life died. One was a very, very favorite grandmother. I think another one may have been an aunt, favorite aunt. I don't know if the other one was sister or whatever. The last one was the grandmother that died. And it was a real big loss to her. So they were about to have the funeral, and she was standing in the house in one room, her mother and some of the other relatives were in the other room. She overheard her mother saying, and I don't remember what her name was, let's call her Ellie. She overheard her mother saying, this is really hard on Ellie. Whatever we do, let's not let her see them put Granny in the ground. She shut down her pictures, her unconscious mind shut down her pictures at that moment. I would be very surprised if you don't have something like that occurred. It's worth, what in the time that you're here, it's worth exploring. I would be very surprised if we can't remedy that.
Good.
Okay? Do y'all understand what I mean about that we have incidents and this is just like we don't want to see them, and the unconscious mind is, takes things very literally. So if some sort of internal dialogue or if somebody else says something, then they say it with all the positive intentions in the world, but how do we interpret that? What meaning do we put on that? And then the unconscious mind responds to that. Okay? So let's promise to work on that when we get to those change in beliefs types of things and see if we can't figure that out.
I mean, I can think of a few things that sort of began around about that time. And one thing that did sort of come up for me often was that I'm not exactly quiet. And I would often get blamed for things, or get into trouble for things that I had never done. And I don't know whether that's anything to do with it, but around about that time I can remember we had one particular teacher that I had for 4 years, and she was a bit inclined to do some
So
unfair
did
things.
you ever get in trouble because you were like you could think up too many things to do or things like that? Or
Talking mainly,
Okay.
or I was always in trouble for talking too much, but also for being accused of doing something, like scheming something and doing something that I didn't do.
Did you ever scheme to do things?
No,
You didn't?
no. I was
see-
far too open.
And one of the things that could happen would be if she is open, if she's got ideas, floating through her mind and she's got creative stuff or just whatever, and she gets in trouble because she has too many ideas, she's too creative or whatever it is, and the parent says, don't do that. And you could shut down the images because they're too vivid. I mean, those are the types of things that you look for when you run across something like this. And I really believe if the biggest thing we have going for us right now is we have a counterexample to the fact that she cannot visualize, because there was a time in her life which she could vividly visualize. So now that we know that she has that experience, it's going to be fairly easy for us, when we get around to that part, to take that experience and just find when it shut down and what was the incident, what was the statement, what happened that caused her to shut that down, and then rework with whatever belief came out of that and let it come back. Because one of the things that if you can almost like put yourself back in time and be that little girl, can you remember how vivid those images were?
Incredibly, yeah, they were really.
Mm-hmm. And
what
as you-
else was extra special about it, that I could flip it, just
Yeah.
like that, it was total control.
So I want you to go back in time, and I want you to step into the body of that little girl, and I want you to re-experience what those images are like, where you have those pictures that are so vivid that you can flip them around.
In the picture, it was more just colour,
Okay.
and the colour would expand. It was like a sort of a spatial, expansion.
So did that little girl back there have pictures of anything? If she could see color,
Yeah, and the colour was in an orb.
okay, could she see anything else?
Well, I might have been able to, but this was vivid.
Mhm.
This was, and it would rise and take over, and it would be along the bottom.
Can you do that right now?
I can remember it. So.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back and step into that little girl and pretend as though she not only can see those colors, and you can flip those colors around, but pretend as though you can see anything else. You could shut your eyes or not, and you could see what your dad looked like, what your mother looked like. whoever else looked like it, but you had memories of those people in your life. You had memories of your favorite dog or whatever else you had in your life, what your house looked like. And with that imagery in your mind, I want you to come forward and bring that with you. And now to 2001, and I want you to experience it now. You're just borrowing from your youth. And notice now that when you do that here and now, that it's also vivid. Can you flip the pictures?
Not really. I've gone but blank.
Gone blank?
Yeah, I think probably too being up here in front of people is not exactly the most
That's probably the truth.
relaxed.
But it's enough to give them an example of some of the things that we could do.
Yeah.
And whenever we get, to that part that, we can just pick it up and where you're not in the spotlight.
Yeah.
You really are in the spotlight.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We'll work on that in the
thanks.
future.